everyone. Good afternoon. I'd like to ask everyone to stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all for coming. Happy New Year. A new year just started again. I need a motion to adopt the agenda.
Motion to adopt the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So passes. I need a motion to approve the regular minutes for the November 14, 2023 meeting.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion that we adopt the minutes from the regular meeting on November 14th.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So passes. Thank you. Today we had proclamation for a woman who turned 100 years old
Okay.
at the VFW. The town manager and I went and made the presentation to her, gave her a flag in a flag box, and we had this proclamation. Whereas Helen Rathburn celebrated her 100th birthday on January 9, 2024. Whereas following high school graduation, she moved to Baltimore where she worked as a riveteer. She was the original Rosie the Riveteer. Whereas she later married and had 5 children, she drove a school bus up to the age of 79. Whereas she moved to Ocean View area some 40 years ago, where she still lives independently in her home in Shady Dell. Now therefore it be resolved, the mayor and the town council, on behalf of the citizens of the town of Ocean View, thank Helen for her dedication and wish her a happy 100th birthday. So she had about 50 people at the VFW.
Yeah.
It's amazing to see that someone 100 years old has that many friends. So it was nice. Yeah,
And
anything
she
you wanna
is going strong.
say? Yeah. We will now move to reports. Financial report, Bob.
Thank you. Before you, you have the financial update as of December 31st of 2023. For our real estate taxes, we have collected 99.49% of our current year's taxes. I only have 2 accounts that have current and prior year taxes due. Our municipal water system, we started out with 20 customers on December 15th with past due balances that were over 130 days. Shut-offs were processed on January 5th. 4 accounts were shut off and 3 are still without service. I'm thinking that those are probably vacant properties. Going on to our balances of our reserve and committed funds. Our emergency reserve trust fund has $1,193,129. The capital replacement trust fund has $1,226,907. Street repair replacement has $2,296,973. Our American Rescue Plan, I've listed on there what so far we have encumbered and spent. We still have a little over $500,000 that will need to be spent by the end of 2024. Our Emergency Services Enhancement Funding Program, we've had 9 new home construction permits, and along with 0.5% of construction value permits to give us a balance of $1,095,491. As for transfer taxes, of course, we're always a month behind, so this is transfer taxes through November 30th. They were 21.4% of new construction homes, which is 17 new construction sales. We had 2.3% of land sales, which is 7 land sales, and 76.3% of resales, which is 65 resale of existing homes. As of the end of November, we were 119,000 above our year-to-date target, but we're getting into our slow months, January and February, so I imagine we're going to use a little bit of that going forward. Attached, you'll find the revenue and expenditure reports. As of the end of December, we were at a 63% utilization. For period 8, it should be around 67%, so we have really tightened the belt and we're right where we should be for this time of the year. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Dawn. I wonder if you could tell us, maybe Ken has this information, where the new construction homes were?
Stingray Harbor,
Stingray.
and then single lot development.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Dawn?
You took care of mine?
Oh, you had that one?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Sorry.
No, it was great.
All right, thank you, Dawn. Moving on to the public safety report. Chief?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, you've got a copy of the reports. I think you should have a report from last month as well, so I'm gonna, just a couple highlights between November and December. First, I want to start off with a volunteer unit. They logged 162 and a half hours in November, 201 hours in December, and the annual total was 2,380.5 hours of volunteer service. I figure that equates to about, in dollars, $75,699 using the national estimated value for a volunteer at $31.80 an hour. So they continue to contribute to the town year after year. Between the 6-7 volunteers that we have currently, they're providing the equivalent of a full-time position at the police department. So it's great service that we continue to get for free. I have nominated our volunteer unit for an award to the State Office of Volunteerism, and I'm hoping that they'll be considered for that Volunteer Group of the Year award. We have won that twice previously. We added, I think everybody knows we've had a drug take-back box at the police station for many years. I think we were the first one to have it in Sussex County, if not the state. We started with an old mailbox that I got from the post office, and we have a very robust program. We collect hundreds and hundreds of pounds of unused or unwanted medication annually. We get a lot of requests for needle disposal. So we've added a syringe or needle drop box as well. That's in the lobby now. It's available for anyone in the area. It's one of 3 in the state of Delaware. Total for the year, we had 52 incidents that we reported in the town limits of Millville. You should have a breakdown of those incidents. Between November and December, the police department secured $16,665.03 in grant funds, and that's being used for overtime patrol, drug investigations, and training. And with that, I'll cut it off and entertain any questions the council may have.
Thank you, Chief. I have one question. The volunteer hours, does that include the CERT team?
No, it does not. We consider that a separate group. So,
But they are racking up hours too.
yeah, they're racking up hours as well, and I think, we've taken the lead. We're providing training for certain units throughout Sussex County now. We've helped multiple different units stand up. We're participating this Thursday in a big countywide event up at Sussex County EOC. In fact, our CERT coordinator, Ed Donnelly, has been given an office up in Georgetown in the EOC. That's how active we've been in the countywide initiative, and things are going well, and I think a lot of good things are going to come out of that CERT team.
Any other questions for the chief?
Mayor, a comment more than a question. We lost a resident who was one of the original volunteers on December 12th, Dave Coella. Chief knows him very well. He was part of the original CAPS unit volunteer. He also helped establish overall volunteerism with the Public Safety Department. His service was this past Saturday. Chief was speaking. And as I sit back and listen to the chief and just look, and after the service, several people, 3, came up to me and says, "Oh, so that's the chief. That's the chief." Yes, and obviously. And it just goes to show you the strength that these folks have. And it's just not the chief. Carol last night, today, Ken out there beating the streets. I think I told you last night, he's hated one moment and loved the next moment based on how the construction starts than how it ends. Dawn Parks and her financial team. The staff that we currently have is just awesome. And to hear and see them out in public, going above and beyond, is remarkable. I think, as the council does, that we're blessed to have these folks and the people who work for them, and it was a privilege. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? All right. Thank you, Ken. Moving on to planning and zoning and development, Ken Semino.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm probably gonna go off script a little bit, but I'll try not to divert too much. With the rainfall we have coming, obviously everybody's aware that Woodland Avenue, any area, Briarcliff, Smithfield, Mitchell Road, Mitchell Avenue, flooded. It's a problem that right now we can't do anything about. You know, the drains from Woodland Avenue drain into prong 3A of the Banks Bennett tax ditch. That ditch runs along the parcel of the, what is now known to be as Shore Vista, runs along the property line of that. It diverts into the reserves, and it follows Bellavia Way to the end, crosses under and goes to the pond. Well, the pond is full. The pipe going to the ditch, from the ditch to the pond is full, the ditch is full. It's from a lack of maintenance and possibly just a 10 inches of rain in the last 5 weeks for the most part. So we're going to experience flooding tonight on Woodland Avenue. And I would say it most likely will be closed. We pre-positioned signs and drums, construction drums to close the road off. So we're set up for that. As part of the Shore Vista project, we will be addressing that prong 3A to clean it out, get those trees out of there, give it a little more depth, and so it can hold more volume of water. That should alleviate the problem short term. Long term, Carol and I are working on a project, and my hope is to convey that water further down Woodland Avenue to another section of the tax ditch that's available and that generally flows freely. So we have some things in the work. Fortunately, none of that was, I don't know if it was or wasn't. I hate to always say it wasn't here, but we spent a lot of money to rebuild Woodland Avenue, and we missed, at the time, a lot of key components, bike lanes and some of these drainage problems.
Have you talked to the tax ditch authority to see if they can work with you to clean out those ditches?
I've been speaking with Melissa Hubert from the Tax Ditch Authority, and we're actively working on that. I almost volunteered for a board seat on that. Don't do it. On that, on that tax ditch, but I sit on one for another tax ditch already, and then there was just some conflicts with a project we have, and it wasn't the right time, but we'll address it and we'll get it taken care of one way or the other.
The tax ditch, program doesn't have money, doesn't have funding.
That's the problem.
It kind of boggles our mind, because you know it's their problem,
Yeah,
all over the place.
so, Ken, Muddy Neck, right? The corner of Muddy Neck, where does town of Ocean View take over Muddy Neck Road?
Money Neck Road actually goes back and forth, back and forth. We don't take over any sections of Money Neck Road. It belongs to the Delaware Department of
All
Transportation.
right, so to your point about tax ditches, I'm on the McCabe Tax Ditch Board, right? So underneath of that road, we're having an issue with the collapse of that pipe
Mhm.
towards Ocean View, right? So who has control of that?
DelDOT, and I should forward you a name because they have a resurfacing contract that I went to the pre-construction meeting.
Right.
It's gonna start here, and if that pipe needs to be fixed, it needs to be fixed
Now,
under that contract so that they don't pave a road and come along and,
Right, because you're talking about moving the water further down, so during that big storm, all those ponds were backed up into Southampton, that was all flooded.
couldn't go anywhere.
So I was trying to get Envirotech to clean the ditch, but the pipe is collapsing, so.
I'll
If
give
you could forward me that.
Yeah, actually, I will. I'll reach out to a gentleman named Brad Saverio, who's the group engineer for Group 3 Construction. He's the guy.
Okay.
I'll copy you on email. All right, told you I was going to divert. Sorry about that. So Silverwood's kicked off, and they're putting in their sediment erosion controls and sewer, water, and something else. But they're getting started. Probably won't be until March till we see any home construction over there in Silverwoods. They're going to get started initially on the first 36 in what they call phase 1B, first 36 homes. Cottages, capital improvements, cottages drainage improvement project started January the 2nd. They're out there every day working. Ground water table is so high they can't pump it fast enough to get the new pipe in the ground. So that's been a struggle. Probably will be for the next week or two. Woodland Daisy, the project that we received the TAP grant for. Sidewalk project that commenced Monday. And they did some salt cutting and sediment erosion controls. We've had some meetings with property owners. So far, so good. West Avenue designs ongoing. Not on this report is design of the Burzins Nature Center that kicked off last month. That's no longer our project, that's a DelDOT project. And it's being funded by their TAP program, Transportation Alternatives Project. The design fee for the project was about $569,000, of which we paid 20%. Dawn knows off the top right, 109.
109.
Yeah, 109. DelDOT's paying the other 400 and whatever dollar.
When you
amount it is.
say it's that, their project, with much input from us,
Oh, yeah, we're involved in the design.
just wanted to get that out.
Yeah, we're involved in.
And it's our property and we
Yeah.
are park, but we are
They're-
the recipient of.
And our consultant's designing it.
Yeah, some significant funds for that.
But it's being designed as a DelDOT project with input from us. I go to the meetings, attend the meetings, and I have all the records and review what they're doing. Last but not least, and this is important, I just tasked a project for a Hunters Run community. We were supposed to pave Hunters Run this year, in April. It's on the paving list, but we're not going to pave it. We have one pipe out there that we inspected through pipe video means that is collapsed that we need to fix, and it goes under one of the alleys. All the pipes in there are asphalt coated corrugated metal. They all hold water. So I just issued a task to inspect and video all those pipes and see what needs to be replaced before we spend $750,000 on paving. We're also going to replace those trench drains. Anybody that's ever been in Hunter's Run, they have this old trench drain system that runs perpendicular to the roadway, so you're driving along and you hit this trench drain and it's like an inverted speed bump. Speed bumps goes this way, these trench drains go the opposite way. There's no way to get in them and clean them. We had to remove one on Cromwell. Georgia Lynch did it in October or November. It was all choked up, and when we got the pipe out, the entire pipe was full of root mat and dirt. So this is something we talked about, we saw coming in 2019, and we've started budgeting to look at these older communities. So here we are.
Ken, is there, they know, of course, about postponing the road and they understand?
Emailed them today. This afternoon, I emailed them. I haven't gotten a response back, but I emailed why we're postponing it. We don't want to pave and then come along after we pave and cut the road open and dig a pipe out and put a patch in the road. So it's deferred to next fiscal year.
Yeah, no, that's great.
And it leads me into the paving rehabilitation projects. Hunter's Run was scheduled for this year. We're going to pave the cottages on Whites Creek. We're currently in there now doing a drainage project. It was in our FY23, FY26 paving schedule. Just moved it up, just flip-flopped those two communities. So we'll pave directly after we finish that drainage project, and then we'll be finished with the cottages for the foreseeable future. That's it. Everything else, code enforcement, permits, all there for your information.
Thank you, Ken.
Yep.
Any questions?
One, sir. Any homes or subdivisions that will be denied access or egress if the road closes on Woodland Avenue?
If it does what it did last time.
No. One home that sits right next to the prom. That home is the only one that's affected, but the water generally doesn't come up that far, although it did this
It
last
did
time.
that one
First
day,
time I've ever seen it up that far.
I did knock on her door, but she was at home. It was during the holidays, and it's close enough that if we get it again, I can make a point to go there tomorrow.
So
See if she needs anything.
in both directions, Woodland Avenue can serve all the subdivisions in both directions, with the exception of that one house.
What house are you referencing?
It's the house,
It's right next to
right
the
next to the property that's getting developed.
On Mitchell?
On
Mitchell
Woodland.
and Woodland on the corner there?
No,
down
not,
further.
it's on the other side of the street.
It's on the same side as.
I was able to park in the townhouse development, Scottfield, and walk across the grass. But her whole house, her driveway was under, in the, towards the street. So we were out there and I was able to pull in there, so I just knocked, but I think she must
Is
have
that
been
Miss
away.
Bennett's house? She's out, she's out of town.
She's out of town.
Yeah, that's
I
probably
don't know
Miss,
I don't know, is it Bennett?
I don't know the person, but she's out.
I mean, I know
The
to
house is out of
see.
town.
yeah, that's Miss
Know to
Bennett,
see,
yeah.
you know.
So she's right on the property.
Yeah, her, Kim and Jeff Bennett, are son and daughter-in-law.
Oh, okay.
So they live local and, you know, if there's a
I
problem
mean,
there,
she
we'll
couldn't
her
get out if she
Yep.
needed to drive out,
Yep.
that was all.
okay.
And if it got that high again, which I've never seen, not that I've been here forever, but in 5 years, I've never seen it like that
Yeah,
before.
yeah, that's the worst it's been, that I can recall too.
Yeah. And right now, the prom's full. It's all the way up
Yeah,
to
there's nowhere to go.
it's up to the edge of the road, so.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, thanks. Moving on to the town manager report.
Yes, thank you. Just a couple of things, we do have, I did throw in, it's not the first time, but I threw in since it's the new year, the event schedule, as we have it right now, and again, a shout out that we will on June 15th have our 135th anniversary event here in the park, and we're we're brainstorming on everything that will entail. Quiet Resorts, Fire and Ice Into the Wild event will be here in the park as well as in other towns in the area the weekend of January 26th. So there'll be more information coming out on that. And of course, we are one of the co-sponsors. School Resource Officer, I gave you an update, and I can provide even a more of an update. We did, in fact, make a presentation yesterday to the Indian River School District's Finance Committee, although there isn't a committee. So that's the name, and what actually occurs is a little different, but we're going to try to figure that out. But anyway, I think it went pretty good. We got some good responsive questions and comments afterwards. We are also on the agenda for the board on the 29th. So we will be presenting and hoping that everything that we presented has them come out with the response that they are going to begin to partially fund our SRO. Started budget. Departments are submitting everything as we speak, and we do have a little bit later on some items on the agenda in relationship to that we'll get with. The 5-year reserve study update started. I initiated that a few weeks ago with Dawn and Mr. Wheatley, and we're changing it a little bit to make it more clear for things that are either equipment reserve study funded or capital funded, things that and emergency funded. We're trying to make it much more crystal clear, so you'll see that. It's not going to be a big change or anything, but it'll help us be even more prepared for future needs for capital replacements than we are now, I believe. I don't think we had a meeting since Old Town, but we did have a good event, and I was able to get the Belltones, who were very popular, under contract for next year. Also got something since the report went out, just to give you an update on the Sussex County reassessments. They have advised that over 150,000 parcels have been visited by their data collectors county-wide. It's about 81% of the overall, and right now they believe that they're on track to be finished for spring of 2024. So they've been in our area already. There's a possibility they may come back to some homes, but same thing, same situation with the cars marked, the people in the vests, and you can go on their website and see if anybody comes to someone's home about reassessment. Let's see. We also had a meeting with Chesapeake Utilities, who wanted to just meet to tell us of their interest in expanding natural gas opportunities in our area. We do get these questions from time to time. The process for expansion is very slow, and it's also impacted by contracts that various developments have with certain propane suppliers who may or may not work with them in regards to a conversion. Chesapeake Utilities owns Sharp Utilities, so you can imagine communities with Sharp as propane provider, that those are the areas that would likely be able to be converted.
I just read in the Wall Street Journal that there's a company that's going to buy Chesapeake.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Good to know. Okay, so other than that, we have the Public Works report, and I skipped over a few things, but I'd be happy to answer questions about anything.
Any questions for Carol?
Yes. Back in September, we talked about a private rental of the park for a charity event. What was the outcome?
The outcome was it was horrible weather. Horrible weather, and they didn't do very well. They didn't really have a really good plan or outreach, so yeah.
Verizon, are they doing anything in Ocean View? Because there's been numerous Verizon trucks, people are calling me thinking that they're getting, instead of Mediacom, Verizon connections. And I said, not that I know
No.
of, but I think they're using the Verizon trucks to subcontract.
I don't know, they're not doing anything, they haven't approached us, with the exception of there's been engagement in relationships to a tower, not on our property, but on the Bear Trap,
Okay.
Freeman property back behind our building.
But nothing.
But they're in the process of like, you know, design and things like that, and a bunch of things. This has been going on for several years, so.
I've seen Verizon trucks in Bear Trap.
Right.
And so I stopped and talked to one of the installers, and he was putting in a cable for a townhouse development, a townhouse section, because of one person wanting it for a business that he was setting up. And I said, well, how can you do that? I mean, don't you have to have it wired all the way in? And he just flubbed about, gulped about it.
Because we've had like 3 or 4 Verizon trucks on the main corners doing a lot of work, and people come and say, oh, are they switching over to Verizon? So, I said, I don't know a thing about it, yeah, okay.
Yeah, the HOA didn't know anything about it either.
I
don't
can,
know how they can do that.
I can reach out to a couple of my contacts, and I'm due to hit Comcast up again, so I'll do both of them.
We
And-
wish they could show up on Hudson Avenue.
Verizon,
Yeah.
right, they haven't been there yet for internet. It's been more than half a year.
For the wire?
That's still laying on top of the ground.
It's a test to see how long it'll last.
Mayor, they do have, Verizon years ago installed fiber optics along Central Avenue. So it's probably easy for the folks in Bear Trap to tap into that. We have fiber optics at the, we have Verizon fiber optics.
Yeah.
Police station fiber optics. Also, we were able to tap into it at the police station because they had run it up and down Central Avenue. So and it runs all the way to the building here on 26 and Central.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Moving on to the Millville Volunteer Fire Company report. In December, they had 260 calls. 224 were EM calls out of the 260, so that's 86% of their activity is EMS calls. The town of Ocean View had 31 calls. Millville had 41. And they gave us a year-end report. And basically, it's the same thing. They have 83% of their calls are EM calls for the last 4 or 5 years. And Ocean View has been around 14% of their calls. So when you think about it, we're paying them quite a bit of money for a little bit of help, even though we want them there all the time when we need them.
Yeah, and I was looking at the annual, the year activity report, and I thought it was interesting that, like, how much lower we are than, of course, they give us Millville and us because we're the towns that they service other than out of municipal boundaries. I thought it was interesting how we're trending lower and they're trending higher for the last 2 years compared to the, you know, it just seems like there's been a switch.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought, well, does that mean our people are healthier? You know, what's going on here? Or is it just a result of more homes being built there?
Well, I see it that we're trending higher and they're trending lower.
Well, no, not for the last 2 years.
Oh, that's 18. This is,
Oh, I went the wrong way. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, you're right. I went left to right. Well, I take that all back.
Chief, what's our percentage calls from
Did
Millville.
we- Maybe we're sick of.
I'm not sure the exact, percentage.
So that question, is that trending up?
I'd say yes.
Yeah.
And that's going to continue to trend upward, not just in Millville, but in the unincorporated areas as well, just because of the growth. And unfortunately, the state police are very short-handed, they're understaffed, like a lot of law enforcement agencies. And, you know, we've got a lot of growth in the area, so, again, not just in Millville, but the unincorporated area. In many cases, especially for what we would consider a priority response, you know, a true 911 emergency type response, most often we're gonna be the first officer on the scene, whether it's in Ocean View or, you can imagine Cedar Neck Road, for example. Yeah, the closest trooper may be in Long Neck, on the other side of the bay. So they've got to come all the way around and down through Millsboro. They could be 25, 30 minutes, even lights and siren. So that's just how it is. And unfortunately, we don't have another municipal police department to the west of us. Millville, if Millville had a police department, they'd probably be picking up a lot of these calls. But that's just not the case. Real quick, as far as the fire department goes, also I just want to add, you know, we've got a storm coming tonight. We've got officers on duty, and I did speak with the fire chief. They've got a duty crew that's going to be on all night in case we have trees down. They'll be able to assist us with that. So we'll have folks on all night long monitoring the storm.
Thank you. Any other items before we go to citizens' privilege? If not, we are moving to citizens' privilege on items on the pre-published agenda listed for discussion and consideration. If someone chooses to speak at the first citizens' privilege, she or he may not speak on the same topic at the second citizens' privilege. So it is now open to ask any questions that you might have. Do we have any questions from? Hearing no questions, we're moving on to the new business. First item is discussion, consideration, possible voting on a recommendation of direction for the fiscal year 25 budget discussion.
Okay. We did a memo for the mayor and council so that you could give us some input for preparation of our FY25 budget. Starting with the revenue side, would council like to support the continuance of offering a discount for early payment? And if so, what percentage? Currently, right now, it's a 1% discount if paid before July 31st. I did look that up. We started this with the May of 2020 billing. So that was for fiscal year 2021. The last 4 years have totaled $92,585 in savings for the town, for the community. So it has increased from 2,037 property owners in FY21 to 2,700 property owners in FY24, taking advantage of the discount. Any questions about the discount, or can we move forward with the budget of having the discount again this year?
From my perspective, I think we ought to continue with the 1%. Any views different from that?
I agree.
I agree.
I agree.
Okay.
Just to get this out there, everything that we're asking you to do right now is just for our first roll-up, our
Yeah,
first
we
draft.
understand that. Yep.
Okay, so make sure.
Okay. The next item is transfer tax. Previously, council had decided that transfer tax would all go to fund our capital replacement trust, our street repair replacement trust, and our emergency reserve. For the FY25, do we want to continue with no reliance for the operating budget from transfer tax?
Well, from my perspective, again, I think when the town council voted to have these transfer taxes put into these replacement funds, I think it saved the town a lot of headache in doing its budget and paying for the things we need to do.
Mhm.
So I would agree that we should continue on.
I think it's perfect, agree with the mayor, when they did that, all the trust funds are well-funded, if not above and beyond. We're not relying on it. I don't see any reason why to change it.
I'm in alignment too with the mayor and Steve.
And I agree.
Me too.
Great. Going into our compensation for our health, dental, and vision benefits, currently the town provides the state of Delaware Highmark basic insurance at a 2% cost to employees, which means the town pays 98%, the employees pays 2%. We do 100% of dental, and we do 100% of the lowest tier of vision for the employees as well. We'd like to continue with the 2%, or at least have that 2% share in the FY25 budget. Is that agreeable to council?
Can you tell us what that total amount is?
The 2%, you mean,
And-
What they pay?
No, what, I'm sorry. The town pays 98%. Can you tell us what that 98% cost is for all employees?
I do not know that on an annual
mean,
basis. We pay 26,000, about that a month, right?
But that's everything,
No,
not
that's
just
just
for
health.
basic. We can get you
Yeah,
that.
I can follow up.
And people change what their selection is at the beginning. And we change our healthcare with the state, because we're on their plans, July 1. So, coming next
I will
month.
break it down and I can tell you exactly what our cost is for health, for dental, vision, everything. I'll send that out tomorrow.
Okay, and can you also inform us about what do other towns do?
All over the place.
Yeah.
Some pay 100%, some have an 80-20 split. We've gone out and looked, we've done several this year. We've had several towns doing questions, sending it out that we filled out. We're waiting, we should be getting some results of that, but we've kind of seen it all over the place.
The 2% is 2 years old that we've been
Yes,
doing
we've
this.
done that for the last couple of years.
It was 0 for basic, the basics Blue Cross Blue Shield offered by the state. And we went to the 2%, I think following looking at what other people were doing. I can't even tell you sitting here today how many people do basic. Most don't, and if you pick anything above that, then you pay more
You pay the
Towards-
difference.
towards the difference between basic and what you
The
pick.
two, and this year they'll be doing the 2% plus the difference. Will be budgeted. So we'll hold off on that one until after I get you the information, and then we can move forward with what we can do
Okay.
in the first roll-up of the budget. For wage increases, we will have the CPIU on January 11th. That's what's used for to adjust the council's pay each year. We'd like to incorporate that, if agreeable to council, in the first roll-up of the FY25 budget for the town employees as well.
What was that last year?
It was
3.5?
last year.
3.8,
I'm thinking it's gonna,
3.2 is what it's looking.
in November, looking at what came out in December for the previous, I'm thinking around 3.2, 3.5, somewhere around in there. It is steadily kind of coming down, but we'll have that Thursday.
Yeah, Social Security, based off the third quarter was 3.2, CPUW is same or sometimes a notch higher by a tenth of a point or something like that, so.
Yeah, last year, Social Security was higher, actually. The last couple of years, it was
8% one
surprising.
year, that was nice, yeah.
Like I said, For the first roll of the first draft of the budget, can we use the CPIU for the employees' COLA?
I would think so.
And that number is coming out?
Coming out on Thursday, yes.
Absolutely, that would be, right?
Just for your information, we started with the employee manual that was approved in 2020, January 2020. We started an annual buyback of sick and medical days, hours. In the manual, it's kind of a scale of what they're eligible. You have to have at least 10 days of sick time left available, and based on your years of service, how many days you can buy back. Most of the staff does take advantage of this. I think it's a great to do for the employees. It makes people not use sick time instead of, really using vacation time when they should be, because they know that they're gonna be given this opportunity for not taking advantage of having a sick time program. This will be, in the next few days, I will be sending out the letters, and I will know how much, probably by the end of the week, beginning of next week, how much that is going to be for this next year. We usually budget it in next year's budget. So what I'm gonna be paying out for this year would be for what we budgeted from last year. It's kind of just an FYI to let you know that this will be part of the budget again this year.
Just so I know, Mayor and Council, you have it in front of you and you can read it. The reason we did it was not only to be an incentive to not take sick leave, which we, by the way, don't have an issue with.
No, we do not.
Thankfully, I've had a problem with it elsewhere. But it's also, it reduces our future liability. Okay, that's the biggest main reason that we would do this. It helps us for when people are leaving, not having to have big payouts of sick leave. So it's a management tool for that.
It also helps, again, to go along with that on our financial statements. It reduces our liability.
Would any of these vacancies be covered with overtime or anything like that? Or are they just vacancies? So if somebody calls that sick, do you need to cover those spots?
It depends on what it is, of course.
We've never,
For police department,
Yeah,
yes.
Well, I'm just thinking,
Well,
because that's one of the
we
other
don't bring in new
reasons to do
people.
it. Right.
We don't have to
Yeah.
bring in new people. There's been times where we've had to maybe bring in a temp for an event because we had somebody out with a surgery or something. But, I think that's what you meant. Do we have
Well,
to?
yeah, it's one of the reasons you do this. It also keeps that from happening also. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, for the administration, no, we won't, there isn't anyone to call in.
Right.
We're at our desk or we're not at our desk. We come back to it, or someone fills in for you if you're out.
And we also
Police
have
department,
good,
of course,
good
does have to.
capabilities for the office staff to work from home. So as long as they're not too sick, we do want them to stay away. We don't want to get everybody else sick. But everybody's really good about if they have something that needs to get done, doing it. If it's payroll, if whatever it is.
Yeah, I was looking at more financial, having to cover it with
Yeah.
overtime versus not having to cover it because somebody's, yeah.
The police would probably be the only one, and
Right now, our licensing agent left December the 22nd, and now is the time of year when the stack of license applications is this high, so I have someone that is working on Saturdays because she's doing
Keep it
her
caught up.
front desk duties and she's doing licensing duties to keep those licenses caught up.
Now, keep in mind, though, we're not paying that other salary, so if you're looking at the whole personnel picture, we're probably not.
We're not paying.
Right.
Overdoing.
Dawn, one question. So since we've been doing this would be the second year, or third? Third. Have we had any employees who have cashed in, kept them minimum 10, and gotten sick, missed
Yeah.
more than 10 days, and in hindsight said, oh, or they weren't paid, or, they missed an extended period of time?
No.
No?
No, because of our retention, most employees have more than more than that on the books
Sure.
anyway.
Even if, even if they,
Even after.
after they cash some in, they
cash
still
their
might
monies.
have.
Yes,
Excellent,
yes.
excellent.
And most employees, you know, the ones, us with, you know, kids, we don't cash them in because we never know.
That's
You
cool.
know, but no, we haven't had anyone cash in and then fall short
Very
on
good.
their time,
Thank you.
so. The next item is, I spoke with Russ Carter, and the police department would like to purchase one vehicle this year. Starting last year, we requested that council pay a portion of the vehicle from our Emergency Services Enhancement Fund. They're estimating the purchase to be $85,000, so we would still use the $30,000 from the Sussex County revenue sharing, and we'll be putting in the budget this year for $55,000 to be approved from council to come from ESIF. Yes.
Very good.
The community events, do you want to discuss those, Carol?
Yeah, I can. Couple of questions that had come in on that. We're holding the budget for our prime town community events at the same level as FY '24, which is $56,000. That covers the concerts, the movies, Spring Fling, Cops and Goblins, Old Town Holiday, and I feel like I'm missing one. I'm sorry?
Arbor Day?
Yeah, I don't think Arbor Day was included, that's a $500 one, and then there's other events that we also budget for that are the ones we are like either sponsors or that we participate with the chamber, such as Fire and Ice. So, so they're in addition to that. The Chicken Festival is not happening in '24. The Historical Society doesn't feel that it is able to have the bandwidth and the staff to help with that. So that's not going to happen. I think that's it on that. There were a couple other questions that I had about the election cost and stuff. I could go over that at a
Well, I was just
later.
wondering, all of these events add up to more than 56,000.
No, well, that's what I'm saying, the arbor, forget about the, at the tree lighting is the end. All these other things are not included as a community event. I'm talking, these are our prime
Oh,
events.
so that's not included.
Yeah, these are not included.
Okay.
So, yeah, it goes from the concerts in the park down to the Old Town Market and tree lighting is $56,000.
And these,
And that's the same as last year.
not all of these have been done, like we never did a bocce tournament, although I think we hope to try to be able to pull it off, in the next year. Of course, new is our 135th, so that's a one-time ad, that we're working on. Night to Shine is not really an event for us, it's kind of a sponsorship. And Ball for All, it was also a sponsorship.
Okay, so Fire and Ice, we do sponsor, right?
We sponsor that, we're co-sponsor for that.
We did that last year?
We did that last year. That is our, large ice.
January 26th, right?
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah, that pays for our large ice and, ice sculpture, and also a lot of the activities that they do here.
Okay, so my question is, if Fire and Ice is put into those, it's more than 56,000.
I don't have it included in the 56, because it's not our event. Our community events are, that's the 56, down to the tree lighting, everything else is,
So that comes out of a separate budget?
it's line items a little differently, yeah.
Okay.
We can add it, I mean, it's all gonna be in the budget, if you want it to be.
Well, it's kind of misleading when you talk about community events, but it's a community event, but it's not in the budget.
Well, yeah, that's why we always had it as listed as other events, because they're not, we're not the ones planning it.
Okay.
That's how
Or-
it's broken down, is it something that we plan and work? Or is it an other event that we give the money to help the event coordinator or
Okay.
the events to do?
So how does that show up in the budget?
There's a line item that says other events,
Okay,
Yeah.
and it's lumped together, like the 15.5 is lumped under one thing, but then we track how much we spend for each thing, like under the miscellaneous, that this year, this will be new, that we gave money for the Deaf Festival this year. That wasn't our event, but we did give money.
But we
to
don't
help
know
with
if that'll occur.
that. We
again.
don't know if it will occur again or not.
okay.
I guess we should probably put Arbor Day, even though we combined it with Spring Fling this past year.
Last year we did.
So I plan to do that again, because we have more people there, other than us just there. So, yeah. But that, I mean, we're not planning, we're at our bandwidth also with what we can pull off. We've massaged, the numbers around, and kept it the same with, more towards Cops and Goblins, it needed it, and we didn't need as much for movies and, stuff like that.
In your opinion, the amount of money we put into Cops and Goblins is pretty large. Do you think that's warranted?
I personally do. I think it's a tremendous community event that is unlike anything else anybody's doing. The fact of the matter is, if you're gonna offer a program like that and it's gonna be free, and for the most part, it's free to the people who come. The big thing is, and Chief, you jumped in, but the big thing is the rides. The rides really, they've gone up in price over the years. They're kind of a statement to the event. At some point in time, we may want to reevaluate all of the community events and, whether we think they're doing what they're meant to do. I think they are.
I think they are too. I only raised this because when we,
No, I'll get it.
when we take a look at the budget, one of the tenets that we look at is to try to minimize the tax increase. And so, looking at all of these things, we're saying yes, but it's with the understanding that we're trying to not have a tax increase.
No, absolutely, and it would not be unusual if we get to a point where we're looking for things to cut, that this is what gets cut in many places. But we also don't know, it's hard to pinpoint what value they're providing. Okay, Councilman had a question.
Real quick, the vendors who participate that have booths, is that free?
It has
There's
been.
no charge to the vendor?
The first year that we were starting Old Time, which was our first vendor event, gonna say, was it 19, I think? We didn't have any kind of, nobody knew about us. They didn't even know if anybody was gonna show up. So I came up with the idea of charging them $100, and then we gave it back to them. That was very unique to them. So they wanted to take the chance. And we have maintained that. We have talked about maybe charging them, and I actually was going to, for going forward, because of our, we've had success and they've had success, they wanna come back, to reaching out to a bunch of the vendors and saying, look, we're thinking about charging, would that impact your participation? We haven't done that yet, but we are thinking about charging for that. And then, of course, we had vendors for the first time for the first Spring Fling event. Some of them are the same vendors. If we did that, we would do it for both. But right now, sitting here today, I don't know what that feedback would be.
So the answer is no, we don't charge.
Correct.
Thank you.
But it was
understand.
for a reason.
No, I got it.
And what we have, we probably make
1,800 this past one.
1,800 with maybe 20, maybe 2,000 because we had one person that didn't show up at last minute and I wouldn't have given them the money back.
Mhm.
You just said we made 1,800?
No, we
We
would
had-
have.
Oh, okay.
We had
Thank you.
18
If we
vendors.
kept it at 100.
Right, okay,
There's
If
nothing
we
to
kept
say,
it at 100.
that,
okay.
nothing to say that.
Alright.
If you, I mean, that is something Dawn and I talked about,
Mhm.
and I do need to get that email out and get some feedback.
Well, there's
Um,
some vendors out there who go to these festivals, and Cops and Goblins sure draws a big crowd. The spring, a holiday tree lighting draws a big crowd. They're big-time vendors, and they'll pay a lot more than $100.
Yeah, I don't know
to
about the
get in.
vendors for Cops
Yeah,
and Goblins.
one of the things, that we
I mean,
always
Yeah.
kinda, one of our tenets for Cops and Goblins was, you could come out and you can participate, but you can't charge. We don't have any vendors that charge folks anything. In fact, if you look at, our vendors, for example, the pizzas and the hot dogs and hamburgers, that's all donated, everything is free. Or we pay for it, some of it comes out of our budget, but the vast majority of it is free. From the potato chips and the soft drinks and the water, that's all donated, by the local, business community. And,
no, I think,
I think anyway, for our event, if we opened up that door, we allowed one to charge, we're gonna have to allow them all to charge, and you're gonna need, and when you show up to Cops and Goblins, if you're a family of 2 or 3, you're gonna need a couple $100 in your
Well,
pocket.
and it's different, like
yeah.
our vendors are making money.
Yeah,
The vendors at Old Time and Spring Flynn made money. I don't know what they made, but I know that they've steadily wanted to come back, and now that they know we have the spring event, I've been getting hit up about that.
my point is that there are vendors,
Gee,
out there that would love possibly to join, add on to the current slate of vendors.
Well, I mean, I think they would have already. I mean, I want all the names you can give me, although we're kind of, gonna be limited, but, the first year we were beating the bushes and they didn't know me, they didn't know the event, they didn't know what we were gonna pull off.
Well, the popularity of the event is.
Yeah, so now we have a little bit to go on.
I can see
I'm
the
afraid
difference, I
with
can see
Cops
the
and Goblins
difference.
again too, if that's what you're referencing. Okay, yeah, because we've got like Rita's, they give us for free, so if they see somebody else charging or getting
Sprinkling
money.
and,
okay.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
think it's the same
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah, I see the difference between Cops and Goblins where everyone is giving things out.
Yeah, we don't even allow people
Nobody's
to take
charging anything
donations.
in Cops and Goblins.
right, I'm talking about the other sprinkling.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like I said, we talked about it, I was gonna get some feedback, I didn't get it yet, so we could have more revenue. I don't wanna push anybody away because we need them. But,
Just,
yeah, it's definitely something we've been thinking about.
Carol, one of the things I've thought about in the past was, since our events, support not just the citizens of Ocean View, can we go to the county and ask for some additional funding?
I would be more than happy to write that letter.
I mean,
Let's just send them an invoice.
yeah.
We're gonna learn from,
Someone's
We're comfortable with making shoes.
Well, can we, move on? I think Steve has to leave early.
Okay.
So-
okay.
Um,
But yeah, how about at next meeting, I'll give you some feedback on that.
The contingency on the capital budget again this year, we're gonna put in a line to be added, 10% contingency. And as always, if we go to use that, it will come before council to get your approval to be used. And the final thing is for the water budget, we are on amendment, the 5-year agreement for Amendment 4 was signed last April. So we are on year 2 of that agreement, so that will be part of the water budget for this year. Did council have anything that they would like to see in the first or in the next week or so, would you be able to forward to us anything that you would like to see in the first roll draft of the budget for FY '25?
Well, I don't have anything right now, but
Okay.
I think if we have a week or so to get to you.
Mm-hmm.
I know Steve,
Above what our normal, what we normally have in the budget.
No, same thing like you know, get the information here, start thinking about it, we can get back to you and or see the first runoff.
We also put on there the budget timeline, so you can see the dates that go along with it. With that, I think that gives us guidance to go into this first draft of the budget and to move forward.
Okay, thank you. Discussion, consideration, possible voting on election calendar. Donna?
Well, you have the proposed calendar. There's been one change. Veronica and I changed the date of requesting the machines to the 13th from the 16th, only because they would like to have 60 days notice, so we changed it to the 13th. That's the only change. This is a guideline for us as far as advertising and things go.
It's basically a checklist to make sure we stay on point.
Yeah.
Donna stays on point.
So do you need a vote on this?
Yes.
Yeah.
As amended.
Okay.
All right, so basically, if anybody's gonna make a motion to approve this, we would make the motion to approve the 2024 election calendar with the amendment to change the voting request to February 13th as suggested by the town clerk.
Do I hear a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion that we adopt the Town of Ocean View 2024 election calendar with the amendment to February 13th, 2024 for the voting machine requests.
I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor? So passed 5-0. Moving on to discussion, consideration, and possible voting on the 8 Oakwood Avenue request for consideration of path forward.
Okay, so, Mayor and Council, I'm requesting here, for reconsideration of our path forward. The purchase of 8 Oakwood occurred in October, November,
I think
maybe?
so, yeah.
October or
Give or take.
November.
I think it was
Time flies. Outreach to DENREC, I made outreach to DENREC regarding the purchase and use as shared, and in regard to the funding from OR Outdoor Recreation Park Trails Grant. The grant has now been approved. When we last talked in September, it had not been approved at that point in time. We had applied for it. And as we know, we've discussed, any use of the property, if we accept the grant, would need to be aligned with the park and amenity of the park. I had the opportunity to talk to the owner of the neighboring property, 46 Central, who reached out when they heard about the town buying it. This is the property that I believe would be most directly impacted by anything we do there. I won't read everything that you guys have, but I provided that information. So anyway, in attempting to determine a way for us to move forward and open up dialogue about the property, I did a lot of thinking and was not able to really contemplate a use of the home for anything that I know the town is anticipating a need for right now. In addition, the receipt of the outdoor recreation grant funding, the confirmation of it, and then as we know, the bond bill funding towards the purchase left a balance of $225. So at the similar time, Dawn and I were discussing the ARPA, American Rescue Fund monies that we have $500,000 left to spend by the end of the year, but which also has a lot of, requirements for reporting and things like that. So I got to thinking that the best use of that money may be to get it over with something we know is happening, and, put it towards, this whole parcel over there, if you will. So with that said, I gave you some information on the parking facility count now, which is 110. We have 2 tenants and this historic village who all have the use of our parking. Most of the time, the parking is not full. I readily admit that. But if we were to repurpose some as a grass lot, the thought process is that we would be down to maybe about 100 spots, and that, being very conservative at 22 spots, originally we said 24 spots, but I want to be even more conservative. I think we can get to approximately 122 spots. In my 5 years being here, which is this week, yes, thank you, I'm so happy to be here. I can share that we hit about 250 for our regular events, not Cops and Goblins, not Old Time, not Fire and Ice. We're always gonna bother everybody around us for those, for parking. And so, most people don't come by themselves, certainly some walk, some take bikes, but 122 spaces, if 2 people are in a vehicle, get us to about 244. I know I'm doing very simple math, but it's a good, it puts us in a good place, I believe, to doing this, moving in this fashion, which you all will tell us how you want to go. We'd be done. This would be the final investment, unless something happens that I don't know about and can't even fathom at this park. We wouldn't need any more parking. We'd be able to fund the whole thing, purchase, demo, design, construction with grant money. It highlights that we're trying to be proactive about not bothering the surrounding properties. And of course it provides strong support to our park and our tenants and the Historical Society. So my recommendation here is that we develop it as originally recommended, as a parking extension to 6 Oakwood lot. Utilized 89,950 of bond bill money. Accept this grant opportunity for outdoor recreation for 89,950, and finish up the cost of all of this with ARPA funds that are available, totaling $615. So that's my recommendation. Further, in my recommendation, I put that you would be required to approve a resolution, but I forgot you already did that in September, so we don't need to do that. But we would, if you were so inclined to move in this direction, we do need you to authorize me to enter into the grant agreement for ORPT, because I have not done so. Copies of the documentation was added for you in your packets. And if we moved in this direction, the deed would either be updated with necessary restrictions for ORPT, so that it remains an amenity to the park. That is a requirement.
So some of the things mentioned were pickleball court, parking, hang in.
Yeah.
Is there a possibility that we could combine 2 uses for that same spot? Where you could divide it for pickleball, and if you have a park event, you just take the center net down, or I'm just throwing it out.
Yeah, things can go, I don't think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think we ever anticipated pickleball for that because of its proximity to the homes and the noise.
Right, then you said in this comment at 46 Central that he said.
He said it, but then when I told him,
right.
I don't think
And
you
I'm
want that.
I'm just throwing things
Then
out
he
there.
was thankful, he was like, oh, I didn't think about that. If you're not familiar, I didn't know until I Googled it when we first started talking about it. I didn't know about the noise. I mean, could you put pickleball courts there? Yes. Do I think it's a good idea? No, because of the noise. We even thought about it here in the grass lot, but kind of pulled back on that as well. We've thought about it for, the Pine Forest, Park,
Yeah.
Country
Cold Lane.
Estates.
Colt Lane,
Colt
Colt Lane,
Lane.
I was gonna call it Folk Park from a place somewhere else. But Colt Lane Park, we thought about it, but, you know.
I don't think it's a mix to have line markings, line striping for vehicular parking mixed with recreational.
Right, but then over this
lines.
side, there's no striping. You know, I thought about, you know, okay, so you don't have striping, but you have excess park, over here where you park on the side.
The grass lot.
The grass lot.
So
And
it
I
would
don't
be free
care if
for
it's
all
pickleball or
parking,
not.
like
Yeah.
that wouldn't be, I mean, yeah, you could do that, but I mean, I think if, in regards to pickleball or any kind of courts,
Right.
we have to think if that's the right place. And there's no doubt in my mind that if, because of what we know of the complaints that, I mean, some of you play pickleball, I've never have, so, you may be in a better position to say whether you think 8 Oakwood's suitable for it.
Well, it's nice that they offer it, but I will be somewhat realistic. So I played a couple different places. One of them's Cripple Creek, which has a resident almost on top of the court. And they're being very gracious, but they really push back on the noise. Now, there's been improvements in the game to muffle the noise. So you do the wrap, which really just covers the fence, but now they're coming out with paddles, which will probably be more used than that people will be able to play to muffle the hit of the ball. And that's where all the noise comes from, nothing else.
Does any place that you play at have people that are regulating that?
No.
I mean, we don't have.
No, some are already, I mean, Cripple Creek was already in motion. I play at Bay Colony, which is a little bit away. That also has a residence. At times I used to play over here, but that's, you know, they've even talked about adding pickleball courts and taking down the basketball ones, but I don't think Bear Trap.
Oh.
But I don't think
No,
that's
they're
gonna
not
happen.
doing that.
Yeah, so the noise is the tough thing. The growth is also a tough thing. Everyone's looking for places to play. There's not enough, believe it or not, there's not enough places to play because communities are somewhat restricted unless you have an inn to play there. So I don't live in Bay Colony, but I play there. I don't live in Cripple Creek, but I play there. So.
But ours would be public.
Correct.
So then-
So you have to control it.
Well, we know.
So that's the same problem that
You know,
Millville has.
Millville has the problem, you had the conversation.
Millville has a lot of problems, not just Millville, but all the other pickleball courts that I know around have problems with out-of-towners using their courts, to the detriment of local citizens who can't get on. And they monopolize the time. They don't get off when they're supposed to. They show up before they're supposed to. And all these towns don't have the ability to police it. And so that's one of the major problems. Also, Millville has had a lot of vandalism with their pickleball courts. They've had to fix them 2 or 3 times in the last year and a half. So and we have a lot of NIMBYs in here, not in my backyard. People want it, but not next to them because of noise. The muffling sound thing is not out there yet. There's still a lot of people that, are gonna be using the old paddles and the old balls, and so, that's probably some time away.
Don't get me wrong, I would love to have a cold court area, as you know, because I think basketball, is something that it's not easy to find around here. There's tennis, public tennis courts you can't find public tennis courts, but I just don't, Ken and I have looked around, there was a property off of,
2 doors down. On
No,
Central?
the one off of, like near
Oh, Beaver Dam?
Beaver Dam Road that
Yeah.
had a sign out, we called them, they never called back.
The other issue, but we don't have it in this town, they've now started converting existing warehouse buildings to go indoor because they already have an enclosure. But we don't have that, so we don't have like these warehouse communities in our structure to do that. In other words, you just take, somebody decides to move out, well, you got this empty building. So you already got the structure on the outside, then you can make it work. But in the county, yes, right now in the town, it's gonna be tough, which is, there's a definite need, but there's also a definite need to take care of people too. So it's not right to just do it because you want it, because you're selfish, but then you try to do it, you can't because there isn't a place.
Well, I think we're taking too much time spending it on pickleball
Yeah.
when we, I think, believe that that's not the right place to do it. The parking lot is what we're talking, the house on Oakland is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
I only have one question about the house, Carol, or not to be house. Is it worth putting an ad up? Hey, anybody want a free house? Come pick it up. We did that with the house that was here, where they were gonna put the maintenance building, and someone did take it. They paid all the cost. I see that you have in the budget.
Is it movable? I don't know.
I've never looked at it closely, I'm sure.
I would ask that
I'm
we,
sure it just has, it's just sitting on cinder block foundation. It'd probably come right off those sill plates.
it can't, that house was worse than this house, and I haven't even been in this house.
Big house.
I would just ask that we check that out. I
We
know the
can.
possible, maybe savings there, if not, rip it down.
Let me see, Ken
Well,
could
Ken-
probably help me find somebody to come to see if it's feasible.
Give it to them. House, want a house? Pick it up.
Well, see if it's feasible, and then
Yeah, it might
then
not
we'd
be,
have to do that.
might not be, the-
Absolutely. You don't wanna put something out, but again, I would not believe it was as bad as this house out here, which somebody did pick up. So.
Ken, you know Davidson, the Davidson House maybe?
yeah, they have a lot of house
Yeah,
municipalities.
I was thinking maybe you could talk to them.
You have to excuse me. I have
Davidson
something
House
that's come up.
moves.
Okay, can you hold on just a
Yes.
second? So we've batted this around. I think the recommendation by the town manager is a valid one.
Yep.
There is no cost to the town or to the taxpayer to turn it into a parking lot. There is no better use that she could find, having talked to multiple people and organizations. I think we should go ahead and approve this as she has requested, with the addition that we would look at seeing whether or not we can sell the house to be taken away. Give away.
Sell it for a buck.
So, if a motion is going to be made, I think the motion should be made as stated by the mayor. I would also like the motion to include that the property be funded. I don't know that our last motion included the ARPA grant funding in it. I don't think it did. So that
No,
we need to-
it's my recommendation that, those three funding sources are the
Yeah, so that
recommendation.
needs to be included in the motion, and also authorizing Carol to enter into the grant agreement with the state. All right, so that way we have all our bases covered. That's a mouthful.
I think you could say, I think you could say that as,
I got it.
fund it as noted in the recommendation.
Okay.
Okay, someone would like to make a motion?
Mr. Mayor, motion to sign the grant for the ORPT funds and to include the grant funding from the outdoor rec parks and trail grants and the AARPA grant funding.
And
Well,
bond
that-
bill,
That's incomplete.
and bond bill too.
But
Oh,
But we have to approve the use, you want the use
Thought I
approved
said-
as well, right?
Well, quite frankly, if you guys, if you approve this recommendation based on what I submitted with the funding, ability to enter the agreement, then it's
Yeah,
as,
that's good.
it's as I submitted.
Okay.
And with the house, somebody's gotta get, we have to get that in there too. So, I mean, I'm accustomed to, you being able to make a motion based on this document,
Okay.
the funding as outlined, with the added, Carol can enter the agreement, grant agreement, and Carol will try to see if the house can get moved and sold.
Okay. Wait a minute.
Yeah, let me see if I can help you out a little
Okay.
bit, and I might have this wrong. Make a recommendation that we approve the use of the bond bill grant funding. I also make a recommendation to Carol Smith for the outdoor parks or ORPT grant. Also, the additional use of the ARPA grant funding to the purchase or removal of the house as specified in the recommendation by Carol.
To include getting away the house. as an
If
option.
possible.
If possible,
If possible.
yeah. That's the motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
You got it, Donna?
Aye. So passes 5-0.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
unfortunately I have to exit,
okay,
and I do apologize.
all right, thank you for coming.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, moving on, any further business before we open up to second citizens privilege? If not, then I want to call, I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Did you get,